Well, following that breaking news out of the NFL, where wide receiver Mike Evans and the Buccaneers are staying together. They have agreed to a 2-year contract. Our NFL insider Jonathan Jones confirming that. The deal, of course, reportedly worth $52 million, $35 million guaranteed for Mike there. The agreement comes a week before he was set to hit free agency with all those other receivers out there. But Evans, of course, played the last 10 years of his NFL career in Tampa. So he's not going anywhere, making 5 Pro Bowls and winning a Super Bowl title, of course, in 2020. At that time, it was Tom Brady. But taking a look at last season with Baker Mayfield, pretty solid numbers. Just over 1,200 yards receiving. That is top 10 after last year. And then receiving touchdowns tied for first with 13, matching his jersey number. And, of course, here receptions and yards just under 16. And that is good for 8th when it comes to the NFL rankings. All right, to break all this down, our fantasy guru, my guy, Dave Richard, of course, checking in because this is news where Mike Evans is not going anywhere. Your initial reaction to this news?
I love it because Mike Evans is one of those guys that everybody roots for. Well, maybe not Falcons fans so much, but basically everybody else in the league. Fantasy managers have come to know and love this guy. 1,000 yards every single year of his career, and now he gets 2 more years in Tampa, and he's coming off an amazing year. You just saw the graphic of how many touchdowns he scored, and I think it's kind of natural to believe that he's not going to do that again. But that yards per catch average, 15.9 yards per grab at age 30, that's pretty good. And it was with who at quarterback? Baker Mayfield. Think about all the quarterbacks that have thrown to Mike Evans. Think about how he's consistently had 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards. It goes on and on. He's had Brady, he's had Jameis, now Baker Mayfield. He'll probably have Baker Mayfield again this year. That's not a bad thing, especially with the offense kind of changing gears a little bit with Liam Cohen, now the offensive coordinator. We're excited about Mike Evans.
So Evans, of course, go over to 1,000 yards again. He's done it, pretty much every season since he's been in Tampa.
Yeah.
If you're Baker and you're seeing this, you already touched on a little bit. I mean, you're excited to have your number 1 receiver back. Is that maybe swaying you to come back to the Bay?
It's definitely going to make it easier to come back to Tampa and be in that offense because you know you're going to have Mike Evans. You know you're going to have Chris Godwin. You know these guys are veteran wide receivers that know exactly what to do. They know how to get open. And for Baker, he knows their strengths and their weaknesses. These are important traits for a quarterback to consider. More importantly, for Tampa Bay's perspective, they've got the franchise tag. And if they want to use the franchise tag on Baker Mayfield, they could do it. That keeps their quarterback in Tampa. And because Mike Evans signed his deal, he's not a candidate for the franchise tag anymore. Just clear path for Baker to stay with the Bucs now, if they so choose to use that franchise tag.
So if it is Baker coming back, and of course you already have Mike there, I'm curious, in fantasy, where does he rank for you? I know he's 30, but the numbers don't lie. He's maybe, what, top 15 in a lot of people's eyes?
So the problem is that fantasy managers do tend to steer clear of older players. It's not just a running back thing. It's also a wide receiver thing, and he is going to be 31 years old. So you're not going to see him taken where most wide receivers that average 15-plus PPR points per game. He's done that each of the last 3 seasons. You're not going to see him drafted as high as normal. I took him with the last pick in round 3 of a 3-receiver PPR draft we recently did. It was before rookies were in there. I would expect Marvin Harrison to get drafted ahead of him. I'd probably expect at least one of Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze to get drafted ahead of Mike Evans because they're going to be more exciting. They're going to be in a position, theoretically, with another team where they could be the number 1 guy just like Evans is. I think people are going to weigh that age factor and whether or not he can do it all again with Baker Mayfield, again, assuming that Baker is quarterback in Tampa, and they're going to try and mitigate that risk by trying to get him lower in the draft. I think you'll see him get taken in round 4 as one of those number 2 wide receivers, probably like the 20th receiver off the board, somewhere in that range, where he could end up being a tremendous value on draft day because, as I told you, 3 straight years with 15-plus PPR points. He's done that before. It's more than just 3 years with Mike Evans. And that's why I think fantasy managers that get him in round 4, they'll be pretty happy with the result.
Yeah, age is nothing but a number when it comes to Mike Evans. Of course, 2 years and back there in Tampa, depending on if Baker's there. But safe to say, it doesn't matter who's QB1. He has shown that he could put up numbers. Dave Richard is always giving us everything when it comes to the fantasy angle. You can catch the crew on fantasy football today. It's a little downtime, but they are still working. And, of course, that combine just ended, so those numbers when it comes to those rookies and maybe jumping up those charts, as Dave mentioned, you might want to tap in and listen.